Welcome to a tutorial video on server-side PHP. In this video, I'm going to talk about get, post, and request. So in the previous video in this series, I talked about the superglobal variable server. It started with an underscore and was all capital letters, server. And I talked about how, because it is a superglobal, we can access it within any scope and use it throughout our code. It also gives us information about the server itself. And as a superglobal, we can access it, and as information about the server, it gives us the ability to check things like the user agent and other information we may want, things like the port and the server address. Well, the three other superglobals I'm going to cover in this video have to do with how information is sent from a client to a server. They have to do with the HTTP protocol used. In these cases, either get or post. So get and post differ in how they send information. And it make a little more sense, I think, if we looked at a practical example. So right here in index.html, I have a very simple HTML example of a form. Right here, it has an action request.php, which I'll go over in just a moment, and the method is get. So we're getting data somehow. This is the HTTP protocol we're using is get. Notice we have input method text, input type text here, and in these cases the name is name and the name is age. These two right here are going to be important momentarily. You also have input type submit, and this will finally submit the data to the action. So we're going to submit the data. How are we doing it? Well, we're doing it through the method get. Where is it going? Well, it's going through the action request.php. Now, because I've set this up as a PHP server environment, request.php is in the same folder, which is over here. Notice it's very simple. It has two output statements, echo, get, and then name, and get, and then age. Let's see this in practice, and I'll come back and talk about this code. Jumping over here, we see I've already supplied it with information, Dan and my age 34. Click submit, and we now see that data right here. Coming back to the code, we see that's what happened right here. So, the get superglobal variable gives us access to whatever information is passed to it via the get method. And it's accessed similar to how we looked at server in the previous video in this series as a series of key value pairs. So if we want to know the value for the key name, we supply it here, and we get its value, which was Dan. Same with age, which was 34. Now, get and post differ in how they send information, and I mentioned that earlier. When we're getting information, it is URL encoded. In fact, you'll notice down here in the server log, it put it right here for us. We sent information to request.php, and then it URL encoded the information for us as part of the get method. Name equals Dan and age equals 34. And we also saw it right here. It showed up right here in the same way. So it passed information using the get method, and the get method URL encoded the information. If we were using post, it would work a little bit different. And so let's change the code and see that. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to change our method to post. Save. Come over to request and save this from the get superglobal to the post superglobal. Save. Now I'm going to come back and refresh, and we'll type this in again. And 34, we'll do 35 this time, and click submit. Now we also sent the information. It was sent, but it didn't show up in the URL. Look, it's not over here anymore. So the way it sends information as post is part of the header information that's sent to the server. It isn't part of the URL. When we use get, it's part of the URL. When we use post, it's part of the headers information. And so we see the same information we saw before, accessing now different superglobals, this time post instead of get. So if we want information that came in via get, we use the get superglobal. We want information that came in via post, we use the post superglobal. Now you may remember at the very beginning of this video, I mentioned a third one, request. Well, as of PHP 4, there is a third superglobal. What if we don't necessarily care how the information came to us, we just need to know that it did? Well, we can use request for that. And I'll change these. And save. Coming back over here, we'll go back, resubmit, and we see the same information again. Well, that's a little strange, isn't it? Well, it isn't actually, because the way PHP on the server side works with the request superglobal is that it combines all data sent via get, all data sent via post, and all data sent via any other method the server happens to support. So if we use something like delete, for example, which is a little rare but sometimes supported on servers, request combines all of these. Anything requested shows up in the superglobal. So we can also use it if we don't necessarily care the method that we got it, if it was get or post, whatever, we don't care. And so we can just access that information. It works on the same way as get and post and contains the same key value pairs as those variables combined together and with any other method used, depending on what the server supports, but usually get or post. So in this video, I talked about get, post, and request. All of them act on whatever protocol is used to send information. We changed, in a very simple example, this form and changed its method, first using get to get information, and when we did that, we saw it was URL encoded. And in the second example, I changed it here to post, and we sent the information as part of the headers. Now, when we're designing stuff, we should probably keep in mind what keywords we want to use and how we want to handle data. We should probably use get. It is highly recommended, in fact, if we're trying to request information. Think of the name of the verb, get. We're getting something. So when we're requesting data from a server, we could use get. When we're sending data to a server, we probably want to use post. And we can help design by thinking of the use of these verbs. We're getting something or we're posting something. Getting something is accepting, posting something is sending away. On the PHP end, we can check all of these using the three superglobals. Get to see what was sent via the get method, post to see what was sent to us via the post method, or request. We don't necessarily care, but we want to see if that data showed up some way. And I reviewed how request is an example of a combination of get, post, and the data from any other variable that's used, depending on what the server supports. Thanks for watching.